Welcome to Motivate You, the winner circle here. This is 50.com, your host, June Archer. Uh, this interview is something special. This interview is educational. This interview is something that's going to change your life. This interview is necessary. Um, Ray Sean Brown, Jermaine Grant, Keyshawn Moore, Danny Reyes were on their way to a basketball tryout in North Carolina when a violent encounter with a pair of New Jersey state troopers changed their lives forever. 22 years later, these gentlemen are back together, reunited to recall this incident that symbolizes why Black and brown people, especially young men across America, free police interaction on a daily basis. Please welcome to the show Jermaine Grant, Danny Reyes, and Ray Sean Brown. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I appreciate your time. I want to start with you, Jermaine. Jermaine, I want you to take me back, uh, if you will, that evening, that day rather. What did you feel? Give me one word that can describe how you felt in that moment.
Shocked, shocked. Um, leading up to that, exciting. Leading up to the moment of us entering the turnpike, exciting because I was taking a trip with three brothers that we was going down to North Carolina for a basketball, North Carolina Central for a basketball trial for a slew of schools to look at us to make a decision on which school that we were going to attend or which school was going to offer a scholarship. So the beginning, I was exciting, and during the incident, obviously shocked of the situation that we encountered.
For you, Danny, one word that describes it, and just emotions after that. For you, one word.
I guess it was surreal the way it just kind of happened. So definitely was real shocking. Uh, you know, at that moment, my life was pretty much school and playing basketball. I was totally focused. So you know, like Jermaine said, I definitely was excited to go on that trip with the holiday weekend. So and I'm going down with some good brothers. So it was kind of like we was feeling good going down.
For you, Ray Sean, one word and some emotions behind that.
Shocked, like the fellas was saying, and I was excited about going down to have a tryout to actually go to these different schools and showcase my talent. But once that moment happened with the incident, it was a very shocking moment, very shocking moment, and terrifying too.
When I talk to people about this very subject, guys, for me, trying to trying to describe it to friends who are white, right? And I try to tell them that the difference is maybe the reason why you don't understand it is being someone that comes from black and brown, right? Perspective. For them, it's an inconvenience when you get pulled over. For black and brown men, especially, it's a matter of life and death, right? You guys went through this situation and came out on the other side where Trayvon Martin didn't, where Mike Brown didn't, where George Floyd didn't. You guys are somewhat of, we want to call you guys are heroes, right? But Danny, for you, how did you feel to be on the opposite end of this to tell your story for people who never have that opportunity?
um, as far as how do I feel now or back then?
I want to say now it's how many years, right? And you guys are grown men now, right? How does it feel? Because you know what, Central Park Five, they had their moment, right? You guys have your moment. We don't have enough of these stories. That's why this interview was important. You know, Khalif Browder didn't get to tell his story. We never got to hear how he felt about. We have you guys. This is a blessing. Um, After all these years, you guys were 13, 14 years old.
I was 20 at
Actually,
the time. So we was in
Oh, you guys are graduating high
we,
school and
no
trying
we,
to
we
figure out
we was all
and get that
junior college.
scholarship.
We was junior college players working to get on a 4-year school, 4-year scholarship. So I was finishing up basically my 2 years of junior college to go to a 4-year school.
And for
And
you, Ray
believe,
Sean,
I believe.
And me,
All of
I was coming from Grambling State University, so I was transferring. My freshman year, I went to Grambling. I had to redshirt, so instead of me staying there and redshirting, I just did a semester of school there, and then I transferred out to come back up to New York to work. And then that's how I met Keyshawn, and then that's how we started putting together for the trip. It was his idea.
now who is for those who don't know the story, I had the opportunity to read it, but who was in what positions? Like who was in the driver's seat? Who was in the passenger seat? Who was in the back seat?
Well,
um,
I it,
I was
uh,
front passenger.
I was a
Keyshawn,
passenger in the back.
it was a minivan, so it was one of those minivans with like almost three rows. So Keyshawn's the driver. I'm shotgun, and then I believe the next row is what Rayshawn,
Hmm.
and then Jermaine in the last row.
Hmm. So Jermaine, you who realized that they even had guns drawn? Or did you guys not realize that until the shots were actually fired?
I mean, I
Well,
realized it as far as at first I heard a shot, right? So, but I wasn't sure what was happening, and then the one trooper came to my window and broke the window with his baton. So he showed, I put my hands up and he showed the pistol, and then that's when he started, he shot me point blank range. So it was for me, it was like the barrel was looking right at me.
yeah, and as far as the shots, I was actually asleep in the back. So the first gunshot to enter the car shattered my kneecap. So the bullets actually woke me up out of what I thought was a dream. And then I'm looking around the vehicle, and I can see Danny. I couldn't see Ray Sean. I couldn't see Keyshawn. And the like I tell people all the time, my initial thought, I thought we was getting carjacked because I fell asleep. Danny and Keyshawn was the one who witnessed the state troopers pulling us over, the flashing lights and everything. So Rayshawn was asleep, I was asleep, but the first bullet that entered the car is the one that woke me up. And I looked around surprisingly, and like I said, I thought we was being carjacked. And then I saw the sirens, and reiterate what Danny just said. State trooper broke the glass with his baton, and he stuck his arm in, and then he showed no resistance, and he paused for about 2 or 3 seconds, and he shot 4 more times. So in my mind, once I realized that we wasn't getting carjacked, and I realized we was getting shot at the police, I was saying to myself, like, we're gonna die, and we don't even know why. So it was real, it was a scary moment. Even now, coming up on the anniversary, April 23rd, it still brings up a little emotion because it's still shocking. Blessed that we here, blessed that we limbs have been damaged, but thank God no amputations, no anything like that. But the physical scar, the mental scar, and the emotional scar, lingers sometime. But I call it like a blessing in disguise, in the sense that we, like, you reiterate in the beginning, that we survived and we're able to tell our stories, because had we perished that night, it would have been such a black eye on our account, you know, and our families would have got the story that everything they said that we did would have happened, because we couldn't testify to our own story. So thank God for that.
What was the initial reason why they pulled you guys over?
I mean, they did try to say that it was for speeding, right? That was the initial. They mentioned that they clocked Keyshawn going 74 miles per hour, I believe, something like that, and
But
they didn't have a radar gun. I mean, they didn't have
exactly,
a
they
thing,
didn't have
and
a gun, actually, a police radar gun.
right,
So it was no gun in the car. They just actually lied and said
right.
that's how fast he was going.
But as far as the way it went down, it was clear for me that they was not pulling us over for speeding, because when I first realized that they was even in our radius, like they was right next to us, because we was in the middle lane, so they was basically pulled next to us in the left lane, riding right alongside of us. And once I noticed them, I immediately looked to see how fast we was going, and we was going right at the speed limit. So and they rode next to us for like 2 to 3 minutes. It was kind of weird, like uncomfortable. It's like I could tell they're just looking inside the car, but then they kind of slowed down, and that's when they decided to put their lights on, come behind us, and to pull us over. So it was clear to me that Keyshawn was going right at the speed limit in the middle lane the whole time. So he definitely was not speeding.
In the story I read, as soon as you guys were pulled over, the car was in park, but for some reason the car just kept moving, kept backing up.
I believe what happened is that it never made it to park because it was one of those shifts. So it went on reverse, and they pulled very close to us. So there was the initial bump, because when the bump happened, I wasn't sure if they just bumped into us, because I wasn't paying attention. I was just waiting for the normal routine license and registration. So I was just kind of just sitting like this, and I felt the bump. So it was that, it wasn't it was just a bump, but immediately, they came out very aggressive, obviously. So
For in that moment, you getting shot, like what happens after that? They stop shooting. How do paramedics come? Like what transpires between getting pulled over, getting shot, and even having the opportunity to survive? Like take me through those moments. Like were there cell phones to call 911? What happens in that moment?
definitely no.
Well, good. Good.
Each of us is different.
Yeah, is my recollection of it is, once the shooting stopped, everything went just silent, because the car actually drifted back onto the highway, and from there, ongoing traffic was something. It was about 10. It was late. It was late. It was a rainy night, and there was no visibility, and we were like rolling onto the highway. So another car hit us from behind and propelled us forward, which made the car roll into a ditch. And once we got into the ditch, that's when we heard, the state troopers coming up to us. We're asking what was wrong. Boom, boom. We're screaming in pain, already shot. Confusion is just consumed us, and they just, they're yanking everybody out the car. They yanked Danny out the car, put handcuffs on him, threw him on the ground. Rayshawn, Keyshawn, I was the only one they couldn't get out. So, we were asking them, through the pain and the confusion, what did we do? We didn't do anything wrong. And they just kept cursing at us, telling us to shut up, using foul language is just telling us to shut up. And I was the only one they couldn't get out the car. So they handcuffed me from the back seat when all the windows were already kind of shattered out. And the car that hit us was a car literally on fire on the highway. And that car burst into flame. And all of a sudden you didn't see the state troopers after we were shackled. And in my mind, I thought that our car was going to explode. That's one of the reasons why the state troopers didn't stay there. And then after that, it was just total chaos with the, fire department, EMT. They literally denied us medical attention because they
Yep.
saying we wasn't searched yet. So after that, it was just chaos. Turnpike shut down, more police officers, helicopters, news. I mean, it was crazy. And as we're going through this, we're literally confused, like trying to figure out like in what moment and what happened. Like we're gonna die. We don't even know why.
But
So
the way it went down too is that minivan opened on both sides, right? It was one of those first minivans that opened on both sides. So I was literally taken out on the passenger side, everybody else on the left side. So like my experience, I never saw them ever again, because I'm literally on the other side of the van. So I didn't know, you know, what happened to them, if they made it or not. And my experience, just like Jermaine's, is that they definitely denied medical attention to me for as long as they could, where it became like a heated battle between the paramedics because they kept saying that I wasn't searched. So the paramedics cut all my clothes off, so that now I was butt ass naked
Yep. Yep.
on the grass, and that's when they finally took the handcuffs off to be able to put me on the stretcher, and then they handcuffed me to the stretcher, you know. And then even when they brought me to the ambulance, it was another struggle and argument because they wouldn't let the ambulance leave without a police officer in the ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, I do remember the paramedics definitely you know, fighting for, you know, the rights to be able to attend to us, and finally, you know, the in my case, they brought me to a helipad, and that's when they put me to sleep, I guess, you know, and I woke up a couple of days later.
For everything that you guys witnessed that day, and you look about everything that's happened over time prior to that day, and then you look at the Trayvon Martin situation, you look at Amadou Diop, like, are you guys at this point surprised or more disappointed that these things continue to happen?
I'm surprised
I
and
ask you, Ray Sean.
I'm surprised and disappointed that this is still continuing to happen. One, I want to say is this: I'm 42 years old, and before me, we black people, we were fighting for you know, to get racism taken away. You know, it's a racist world we live in. We were protesting a lot. A lot of stuff was happening, and with the police brutality, it still continued on, and it's still happening after what happened to us. And to me, that's a sad sight for me having a young black male myself, and now have a son, and my son has to come up in this society dealing with this. And here I am coaching them through it. I'm a living survivor, but then I also still got to fear for my life because of the color of my skin. It's really messed up that we have to continue to live like that. And this is something that I was born into. It really hurts me. It really does. And I'm lost for words. When that question is asked to me, I really get lost for words because it's sad. It's,
What do you tell your children? Like, do you have kids old enough to drive that are you're close to the age that you were when this happened? Like, what are you telling them? How are you explaining how, you know, black and brown people are being treated by law enforcement? Because I want to say this though, gentlemen, not all law enforcement is bad. We have friends and family in law enforcement. We're not saying that, but for the ones who give them a bad name, like, what are you trying to teach your young kids when they step out and they're behind that wheel, even if they're just walking to the corner store or walking to the store?
Well,
What are you trying to share with them?
well, for me, you know, and Keyshawn can contest to this. Well, I'm sorry, he's not on, but my daughter's 20. She's 20 years old, Layla, and she was one of the first childs brought in. Him and Keyshawn's daughter name is Michaela. My daughter name is Layla. They were born into the situation. She was born in 2000, right? And for years, me and her mother had to endure her her anxiety on, you know, her going to school, her seeing me on the news, and like, you know, daddy's on TV, daddy's on TV. The police officer shot daddy, and her fear of, you know, just seeing a police officer was kind of nerve wracking. You know, even getting calls from school saying, you know, during a career day, you know, back in the day, career day was police officer, fireman, and you know, whenever she used to see a police officer, she'd be like, they're gonna shoot my daddy. So, but in time, she's learned on how, you know, me and her mother pretty much just taught her history, you know, and just taught her, you know, they're good, you know, and the great words of the late great Johnny Cochran. You can't paint every police officer with the same paintbrush, you know. And you know, for me, growing up in Harlem, my one of the main organizations I played for was the PAL, you know, the Police Athletic League. From the, I have friends and family that vouch for me. Matter of fact, the same day it happened to me and word got around to my neighborhood, some of the first people who responded to the allegations of me having this so-called shootout with police officers on the New Jersey Turnpike were police officers who stood up for me and was like, nah, that's not him. From the 28th precinct, 32nd, I mean, the whole, uh, there were probably more police officers that I played with in the PAL system that stood up for me than people who didn't really know me in the streets. So I agree with you. We can't paint them all with the same paintbrush. And it's a shame that it takes, one to run a whole organization. So my daughter, she's learned and she's conquered her fear, but she's educated about her history, her skin color, and the importance of, African Americans and minorities in this country.
Danny, I want to send this question over to you. What can we do to kind of bridge that divide and that gap between law enforcement and just people in general? I hate to just make it a black and white thing. We are being targeted. We have taken the brunt of this. How can we bridge that gap to have the opportunity to, whether it's a state trooper or local law enforcement, when they make these stops, that they do them differently? I know now we have the George Floyd, law that has come into play, but how can we bridge that divide? Like, what does a conversation look like
Right.
to let them know?
I feel, it starts with police reform and training. Like, it starts from that level, right? Definitely, because policing, it's complicated because it really changes depending on the region of the country, the city, the town. It's just like many other things in this country. It really goes by state, right? So, with that being said, some police officers are being trained way better than others. So it's just very inconsistent, and all that has to be changed because there's no telling that the training could be better. They should be accountable more for what they do. But at the same time, it's the culture. The culture is very it's, it's it's a big part because, like we said, it's not just black and white. There is police abuse against all citizens at certain levels, right? And it's the culture. It's like quoting the great Johnny Cochran again. Is we need to get to a place where the bad police fear the good police, and not vice versa. And for many years, the good police fears the bad police, and they don't stand up and say what's wrong. And to me, that's probably the biggest problem because they are good police officers out there. And just to say, my mother is a retired police officer in Puerto Rico, so I grew up in that environment as far as police officers at a very young age. So I do understand that. My sister as well worked for the police department, school safety, but still. So it starts by changing the culture and obviously way better training.
Whatever happened to those two police officers?
They're around. I
Uh,
mean, end of the day, all that happened was they lost their jobs, right?
that was it.
I would say,
And
right?
That was it.
$250 fine.
No repercussion. No repercussion at all. They just
It's
lost their
only
job.
Ray said it. That's the repercussion.
Yeah, repercussion was
Every
$250 fine. Each and one of them, both of them had to pay a piece, $250. That was it.
Hold on a second. Say that one more time. How much was it?
$250.
The fine was $250. That was it. And they lost their job. That was it.
They lost their jobs.
and
Basically.
hey, Danny, and a book deal.
And a book deal. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And got a book
They,
deal.
they avoided.
Okay.
They avoided having to go to trial. They avoided having to go to trial and have to answer for both indictments. Because remember, they got indicted twice. After the shooting indictment, they got indicted for falsifying records for them
hmm
falsifying for many months before our incident.
Okay. So on the other side of this, how were you reimbursed for the inconvenience?
Well, the way that the case went down, it did become a very big case, political case, national case. There was, the government was monitoring the case. They was trying to get it to the federal court. So at the end of the day, um, they did figure out a way to settle the civil case first.
Mm.
Because they did make early. There was very small little offers to get rid of everything, of course, right? And normally the civil case comes after the criminal case. But they allowed the criminal case to continue and kind of opened the bank up. And that's why, we did receive the settlement first. And then it was almost a year later that they used to come to us and ask, do we want to settle? Do we want this? Do we want that? Right? In the beginning, there was fighting. But when they settled, it was, there wasn't asking, they was telling us, they're giving them a plea bargain. So we always taught, even when we took the money, we was told we would still get our day in trial. So we always thought we was going to have a trial, but we didn't.
I want to.
Unfortunately,
Go ahead, brother.
no, I was just gonna say we were kind of like took in for a loop there because, like Danny was saying, we weren't on the level and the stages of saying we want to settle right now. We were more like we want to take this to court. We want to have a criminal court case. We want to see this in trial, and the attorneys were backing us on that. But then when the state general attorney for New Jersey came back, it was more on like, listen, we can do the civil thing, and if we do the civil and y'all settle, y'all can still do the criminal. But unfortunately, we were taken for a loop because soon as we settle, that was it. A year later, everything else was swept under the rug. They got that $250 fine. They lost their jobs, and then that's it.
Right. It was kind of, it was set up. I think, it was definitely strategically set up that way.
Set up, because I'm certain that they didn't lose their pension. I'm certain that they didn't lose their pension. So let's move the conversation forward. We're talking about solutions. What have you been doing since then to move the needle on this conversation and the behavior to make things, a little different and make the changes necessary? I'll start with you, Rayshawn.
Well, since then, we have done speaking engagements where we have spoken at schools, different age groups, different levels of education. We have hosted tons of different clinics for basketball throughout New York, and we have done stuff in New Jersey. Then where I'm at in Montclair, where I work at, I have done stuff at the YMCA where I invited the guys to come. We did speaking engagements there for the kids there. And then also I ran a youth program at the YMCA. It was called YBA, Young Basketball Association. So there I had the guys come and we spoke to the kids there, different topics, different things. So since then, the needle has been moving towards helping the community in various ways and to educate them as much as possible.
Dope, man. I appreciate that, man. What continues to motivate you guys, man, to just live your best life after putting this? I can't say it's behind you. I know that the anniversary is coming up, and some of these things you're gonna have to relive. I know that you guys are better men and better human beings because of the incident. But for you, man, what inspires you to go out there and inspire and motivate our young people?
Ancestors, my ancestors, my mother, my father, the people who fought to get me to where I'm at today. So many, I could speak for all of us. We didn't get here alone. We had tremendous support, and this was before social media days. The fact that our case was so worldwide and so publicized, and once again going back to the blessing in disguise, having the whole dream team: Johnny Cochran, Peter Neufeld, Barry Shack, David Ironman, Linda Kinney, Wayne Griefetter, Reverend Al Sharpton. I mean, the list goes on and on. So having that kind of, the support from our communities, our hood, so to say, because we all came from different spectrums, but and we were honored and revered. So that alone is enough, and we all have kids. We still have family members who are gone and some are still here. And people actually look to us to continue to fight because so many people are not here to continue. And so the motivation is definitely there. And, we keep each other strong. We started out as, not knowing each other, but we brothers, we family, you know, their family is my family is their family. And we just keep that thing growing and keep awareness alive.
Now, I appreciate y'all joining me, man. Before I let y'all go, I love to ask my guests this question, man. Music is a soundtrack to our lives. What song best represents your journey up to this point, or what artist best represents who you are in this moment? I'll start with you, Ray Sean.
Oh. Well, I would say Busta Rhymes,
Nice, nice.
and I would say the song I would use would be Danger, and
So,
yeah, I would go Busta Rhymes.
Danny, for
Yeah.
you.
I mean, I keep thinking right now in my lifetime, Jay-Z just keeps coming to my head because it's like, I'm very, I'm blessed. I definitely thankful for living. So I feel like it's everything that I've done is I used to sometimes I used to use that hashtag in my lifetime because it's just like I experienced a lot of things. The way it's turned. Obviously, I always I was living a regular basketball. Now it just kind of went different ways that I never even thought it would go. But it's all in my lifetime. I've experienced a lot of different things. So, in my lifetime, JC.
Jermaine, for you.
All right, hey, listen, I just want to say before I say this, hey Danny, hey, you from Staten Island, man. So somebody gonna be mad at you from Wu-Tang. I'm just playing, man. But no disrespect to my community, and I grew up around a couple of good MCs, from Harlem. But Nas one mic for me because
True.
since
So,
we had the microphone, we never let it down, and
Hmm.
it's just always got to use our voice, So one mic, Nas.
well, I want to say, man, this was an honor and a pleasure. Uh, I hope to have the opportunity to honor you guys personally. What you did, courageous. What you continue to do, courageous, strength. And if I could be of help in any way, man, to come and talk to the kids, please, you can lean on me, and I'll be there, man. I'm here to make sure that people hear this story, they understand it, and we educate our young people about, just the rules of the road, but also how to conduct yourself in these situations. Even if you know that you may not come out on the other end, at least we knew that we educated them on the process to try to make sure that they do exactly what you do. They get to come home, hopefully safe, but at least they get to come home. So thank you guys so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Jersey for Jermaine, Ray Sean, Keyshawn, Danny. This is Motivate You to Win a Circle. I'm June Archer. Please follow these guys, like them, share their story with your kids. Understand when we get in these cars, we're not guaranteed to get home. We just want to get home safe. But the courage that these brothers have shared with us today and from their story, I promise you, we're going to change some lives. So, where can we follow you guys? Give us your IG hashtags or whatever we need. We want to make sure we continue this conversation. Jermaine, where can we follow you?
You can follow us on the Jersey 4, Pass to Assist, Instagram, Facebook. Right now, we're setting up our own
But
foundation.
but
You can,
at the Jersey #4. At
okay,
Yeah.
the
yeah,
number
Yeah.
4,
at the Jersey.
and then the other one, which we're about to launch a foundation next month. It's called Pass the #2 Assist Foundation, and
Hmm.
the Instagram actually is it's just going to be Pass #2 Assist.
Yeah,
Now,
Yeah.
I'm
and
looking forward to it. So, this is what we're going to do. I'm saying it right now. Go to that website, make a donation, support whatever the initiative is that these brothers are doing. Support. Guys, I want you to make sure I get it. Jermaine, you got my information. Text
yes,
me. I'm going to
Yeah.
make a donation. I'm making at least a donation of $100. Matter of fact, I'm going to invite 3 other people to join me. So that's $400 for the 100 for each one of y'all to represent for what y'all doing, man. I
Thank
appreciate
Thank
you,
you.
y'all.
brother.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
I
Make
appreciate
sure
it.
brother.
you support them. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is June Archer for Motivate You to Win a
Hey,
Circle
June.
here.
Hey, June.
This
I'm,
is
I'm sorry.
50.com.
I'm sorry, June. I'm sorry. Before we go, I definitely want to give a shout out to Lisa Noel because she's been I've known Lisa since 1998, right after my incident. She was in Harlem, Jersey girl. She came to Harlem. I met her. We've been friends ever since, and she's the reason why we connected to you. So I definitely want to give her a shout out, Lisa Noel, and you know, just she loved us. She's been behind us since day one, and I just want to pay homage to her and thank you for having us.
Nah, it's been a blessing. And shout out to her. That is the big sis, man. We definitely
Yeah,
appreciate her for just
yes,
connecting these dots, man. So
yes, sir.
I'm here to support, gentlemen. I just want to tell y'all, man, I always, and this is for the listeners, man, and those who are watching, never be afraid to tell someone you love them, man. Even if you're just meeting them for the first time along your path, tomorrow is not promised. You just heard their story. Tomorrow is not promised. Tell somebody you love them, and maybe the last time you have the opportunity to do so. So, brothers, Jermaine, Danny, Ray Sean, tell Keyshawn, I love y'all, man. God bless y'all.
All right,
Once
thank
again,
you, brother.
this is June Archer
Appreciate
for
it.
the Winner Circle. Motivate you. Thank y'all for tuning in. God
Thank you.
bless you.
You love.
Peace.
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 Peace.